Yeah, and especially when you're that's why we want to try to make sure that you're really, yeah.
Recording in progress.
Call to order the regular meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Barnes?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carter?
Here.
Councilmember Orr?
Here.
Councilmember Wilson?
Here.
Councilmember Woodall?
Here. We are returning from closed session and there is nothing to report on. Now, can we maybe stand to the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public presentations. Citizens who wish to address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Brown Act. Items requiring council actions not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Anything?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Any hand raised? No. Any email? Okay, then we will close this item and move on to the consent calendar. Would anyone like to remove an item from the consent calendar?
No. Number 5.
Number 5? Then we can, no? Okay. So is there a motion to approve items 1 through 4 of the consent calendar?
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion carried 5-0. Councilmember Wilson.
Yes, on item 5 is the letter to the Public Utilities Commission for opposing the removal of the landlines to AT&T phone service. Yeah, I just wanted to bring that up. There's not a lot of people here, obviously, but anyone tuning in, if there's any chance to oppose that, or you come up to that, some kind of something to know and to be aware that the AT&T is wanting to eliminate landlines to Humboldt County. And so that's, we believe as council that that's not a good thing. And because you'll be depending on wireless or Suddenlink or Optimum or whoever to make your connections for any phone services. So I just want to say that.
Yeah, that's, thank you. And there is a hearing, I believe on the 28th, with the California Public Utilities Commission that you can go online for. It is, as Councilmember Wilson said, it's hugely impactful. If you don't have, a lot of people at rural don't even have internet to fall to. So for them to take away the communications of last resort, that it will impact not only Rio Dell, but all the rural communities and even just in major cities. If you don't have the ability to have cable, to have internet, you will be affected adversely and you will be cut off. So anyone who's listening, if you can get there and Zoom in, make your opposition known, like Councilmember Wilson said, that would be a really good thing to do. And so, motion to approve that?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve
Thank you. Is there a second, motion to approve the letter of opposition? We have a motion and a second. Motion carries 5-0. Reports and staff communications to the manager, page 50 in our packet.
Thank you, Mayor Dorrance, members of the council. So, over the weekend, we did receive just shy of 4.5 inches of rain over the course of 72 hours. So this led to us every day having a SSO event at our weakest point in our wastewater collection system. I want to just remind the public that the system was pretty significantly damaged during the earthquakes of last year, and that most of what we see out of this is it's not raw sewage. It is a highly diluted inflow and infiltration, which is essentially water getting into the piping system. But I do want to just say thank you to our public works staff, our wastewater superintendent Sunshine, for having to deal with this over the course of the weekend, a 3-day weekend. And just a lot of kudos to her. On this front, I'll just remind the council that we were working with the state on an enhanced sanitary sewer evaluation study, including cammering of the system, including post-earthquake, redoing some of the data that we had collected pre-earthquake. And then also we are working with the state on upsizing the Painter Street line, so the final line into our wastewater plant, so that we avoid these SSO events from occurring. We are, however, highly dependent on state funding to make those projects possible. As the council is aware, our rates are at kind of a carrying capacity for the community, and engaging in these capital projects are very expensive for a relatively small rate base to sustain. So I know it's been the council's priority to make sure we leverage as many grant dollars as we can through the state of California to address that. And just make sure the public is aware that we take this very seriously, and we are working as hard as we can to come up with the best options to move these projects forward. That said, obviously the state is running into a lot of financial difficulties. It seems like the latest reports out today made it seem even worse. But we are counting on our state partners to help provide the funding to get these projects done so that we don't have this problem in the future. One other thing, it's really important, I want to make sure that I mention, Supervisor Michelle Bushnell made sure that I was aware and the other city managers were aware of a Humboldt County virtual town hall on February 22nd. So that's this coming Thursday at 5:30. And this is related to really the homeowner insurance crisis, which is impacting community members here in Rio Dell. And it will be continuing to be an evolving situation that I think people need to pay attention to. And that if you are getting your insurance packet information annually from your insurance policy, you really want to open that up and read into it and make sure that you have the appropriate coverages and that your policy isn't being realigned. So the virtual town hall will allow you to hear from experts about emergency preparedness and how also California is addressing the homeowner insurance crisis. And there will be folks from the California Department of Insurance, United Policyholders, CAL FIRE, and the UC Cooperative Extension on that particular call. You can go to the county website. On their front page is a link to sign up for the town hall. And you can also come here to City Hall, and this code will be available for you to sign in. I want to make sure that people are paying attention to this, because this is a major complication. For example, in earthquake recovery efforts, you are not going to be eligible for the grants that are available for you if you have lost a homeowner's insurance policy or otherwise currently uninsured. So a lot of these programs, again, are loan-based, and those loans, even government loans, will require you to have a homeowner's insurance policy. So this is a big deal on multiple levels, but in particular here in Rio Dell. With that, I don't have too much else to update the council on. We will have an important measure or letter to recommend to the council at your next agenda. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, City Manager. April Tim?
No question, thank you.
Councilman Wilson, Councilman Orr? Rich, you got anything? Any questions? Okay. Any hands raised? Any emails? Yes. And thank you very much. I just want to say thank you, especially to wastewater. Oh my goodness, you guys, it's been rough. So thank you. Probably been rough for water too, but I know rest water has been really super rough. So thank you all on Public Works for everything you've done. Appreciate it. Okay, then we will close staff communications and move on to special presentations. Fiscal year 2023-24 mid-year financial report, page 53 in our packets. Financial Director, Robert Bambor.
I'll just wait for Willie to get the PowerPoint up. I have a small presentation for us.
Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Garnes and members of the City Council. The mid-year financial report summarizes and analyzes the city's financial performance for fiscal year 2023-2024 as of December 31st, 2023. Details of the report describe revenues received and expenditures incurred during the first half of the fiscal year and explains material differences between the valued and adjusted budget. A budget outlook will be given, reviewing several factors that may impact the city financially over the next few years. This report was created using unaudited financials as of December 31st, 2023. The city has three main fund types into which its finances are consolidated: the general fund and the enterprise funds, which consist of water and sewer, and special revenue funds. At the mid-year, city expenses exceeded revenues by just over $724,000. This is principally due to the timing of the city receiving its revenues from the County of Humboldt and other government agencies, in addition to grant-funded work completed yet not reimbursed. This slide compares city department expenditures, delineating operating expenses, debt service, and capital projects. Most departments were operating at or below 50% of budget expenditures at the mid-year point, with departments such as streets, water, or sewer seeing elevated levels due to ongoing earthquake repair or grant-funded work such as the sanitary sewer evaluation study in the sewer department and the drinking water infrastructure improvement project in the water department. The city received 29% of the budgeted general fund revenues at the mid-year compared to 21% the year prior. Property tax in lieu of vehicle license fees are typically received from the county in the second half of the fiscal year, which is the primary reason why revenues are below estimate at the mid-year. 40% of budgeted cannabis revenues were received at the mid-year compared to 55% last year. This is a result of Ordinance 397-2023, a local ordinance that allowed cultivators on the Dinsmore Plateau to make a one-time tax payment by March 15th as an alternative to quarterly tax payments during the year. The street funds received 59% of the budgeted revenues at the mid-year. Actual streets funds expenditures were 67% of adopted budgeted appropriations at mid-year compared to 50% last year. This increase is primarily due to ongoing emergency earthquake expenditures allocated to various streets funds, in addition to pass-through income the city allocates to the Humboldt Senior Resource Group and the HTA. Actual revenues for the Sewer Enterprise Fund received were 51% at mid-year, with 49% of allocations expended. The Sewer Department has expended 38% of the capital and special projects allocation. The $6.6 million treatment plant loan with the California Water Board is set to be paid off in the year 2043. Actual revenues for the Water Enterprise Fund received were 49% at mid-year. 52% of budgeted expenditures were recorded. Expenditures in the Water Capital Fund were at 145%. This increase resulted from emergency earthquake repairs at about $107,000. And the Cal OES grant-funded Eel River Pipeline Seismic Retrofit Project, which has incurred about $68,000 in costs as in mid-year. The water plant also has a loan of $2.7 million with the state of California that will be paid off in the year 2029. The mid-year review shows revenues and expenditures remain largely within budgeted levels. However, several factors are anticipated to impact the budget outlook. The master earthquake list of projects has a cost estimate of nearly $36 million. If no additional reimbursements are granted, the city's 25% cost share will be just under $9 million. The cannabis market continues to be challenging for local governments and producers alike, but the city remains confident in the long-term viability of the market and its impact in the community. The Taxpayer Protection Government Accountability Act is an initiative currently proposed for the November 2024 ballot that has the potential to impact Rio Dell's Measure O sales tax. This is a substantial revenue source to the city that would have profound impacts on the budget if altered or removed. The current year budgeted revenues from the local sales tax are estimated at $368,000. Finally, street funds. Although electric car owners do pay a fee meant to offset the losses in the gas tax, the state-based formulas are inadequate to maintain funding. The Legislative Analyst Office predicts a $6 billion decline in tax revenue over the next decade. The result of less gas tax to the city will result in a greater percentage of general fund monies to cover the shortfall. This concludes the mid-year report. I'd be happy to answer any questions that anyone may have.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
Just one question. Thank you, Travis. These are always boiled down so nicely and succinctly, and I appreciate that. In regards to the electric vehicles, I think it was like sometime last year, the year before, people were talking about doing like a road tax or road use tax, I think it was called, to try to account for, you know, the mandates on electric vehicles. All that. Is that still a thing? And is that something that we hope to see a piece of?
I've seen that in some of the research that I've been doing. I haven't seen anything concrete yet for the current. That, among a few other options, are being looked at because that $6 billion, dollar figure is a real number, that will have to be looked at over the next few years. So that, among other options, the state's looking at to help alleviate that.
I think it was a Cal Cities meeting. I heard about that. And I haven't heard about it since, though, so I just wanted to throw that out there. I'm glad you're seeing it tossed around.
Right.
That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Wilson?
No, I don't have anything.
Councilmember Orr?
No question.
Councilmember Woodall? No, just thank you again for all you do. Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you, Travis. Do you have any questions? Any hands raised? Any email? Yeah, I think that is a receive and file. So we'll close that and move on to the temporary waiver of sewer fees for customers whose residences have been red tagged by a declared natural disaster, page 69 in our packet.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes and member of the council. Following the December 20th, 2022 earthquake and subsequent tremors in January 2023, the Rio Dell City Council recognized a significant hardship faced by residents whose homes sustained damage and were deemed uninhabitable or red tagged. In response, Resolution 1578-2023 was passed, waiving sewer fees for residents for a period of 6 months. Resolution 1578-2023, approved by the Rio Dell City Council, waives sewer fees for red tag residences from December 20th, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. A total of $6,321 in customer sewer fees were waived during this period. Subsequent to June 30th, 2023, customers were billed at the pre-earthquake rate per resolution 1578-2023. At the February 6th, 2024 City Council meeting, concerns were raised regarding sewer bill charges for unoccupied red tag residences. To address these concerns, the city staff was directed to revisit Resolution 1578-2023. City staff developed a revised sewer bill adjustment claim form allowing ratepayers with red tagged residences to apply for a sewer fee waiver from the date of the declared local or state disaster until the residence's red tag designation is removed. The eligibility criteria are as follows. The residence must have been officially red tagged following a declared natural disaster. The applicant must be the designated ratepayer for the affected residence. The applicant must demonstrate active efforts toward removing the red tag designation. And finally, all completed forms will undergo a review by the finance director and require approval by the city manager. Attached to this is the updated sewer adjustment claim form, including the resolution. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if anyone has.
Thank you. I'm gonna go one more time here, there.
No, I'll take this one. So just to be super clear for the record, what this is about is moving forwards. This is not about retroactively waiving sewer fees for people who are still red tags.
This would retroactively waive sewer fees for those who are red tagged who are currently not living in their residence. This has been written in a way to capture anyone who has been impacted by the December 2022 earthquake event so that they qualify for any sewer fees that they've incurred that fits the qualifications outlined in the resolution.
So it is retroactive. Would those retroactive payments come as like the city just writes you a check, or is it a credit to your account?
It's a great question. For those who haven't paid anything and are receiving a bill, no, the bill will be waived. There's no payment to give back in that instance. In the case where someone has paid a bill and qualified for the fee waiver, it would be credited to the account. The city would not be paying the customer in that sense.
So people who were red tagged and are not anymore, would this apply to the time that they were red tagged?
For the resolution, no.
Okay. I think I had another question, but I forgot it. So I'm gonna let you move on.
Okay, Councilmember Woodall.
Didn't we look at it today and we still have 8 houses red tagged?
Great question. Yeah. So currently on the list that we have in the city, we have 8 homes that are currently red tagged as a result of the December 2022 earthquake event.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Orr.
The only one I have is, do you have any, or an idea of how many houses were red tagged but came out of red tag during that time and would not be affected retroactively? Between that June 30th and now, how many houses came out of red tag but were paying sewer fees on a house they couldn't live in?
Right. I don't have that information with me right now, but I'd be happy to look into it and get back to you.
That's it.
Councilmember Wilson.
Councilman Carter asked questions I had, so I'm good.
I remembered my last question. Has anybody else in the community besides Mr. Saunders, who was here 2 weeks ago, come to the city asking for this?
No.
It's just him.
Correct.
Okay.
Any questions? Good.
I'm gonna complicate things just a little bit. I've spoken to Mr. Saunders. He's not here tonight because it is his mother's 90th birthday and he's taking her out to dinner. And I said that is a really good reason not to attend the meeting with the agenda item that you put on the agenda. I also spoke to the disaster case manager, and she did not fully understand the way our sewer billing system works. I explained it to her. Now that she does understand, there is a possibility that these fees could be maybe met via the Unmet Needs Committee and some of that funding. So I'm just putting that out there. if we don't pass this, there is still hope for people to be reimbursed for this thing. That is my point. And just wanted to clarify that for the community. If we are trying, and I don't know that we are, but if we are trying to leave disaster relief and city government completely separate, I think we could still do that through disaster case management. And that's my piece. That's it. I'm shutting my mouth.
Okay. But that would be for this disaster, not necessarily for the
I
next
do
disaster.
think that for the next disaster, we should have it definitely quick in it. Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and just to make a quick note, this was written, not only to capture this, but really the future.
Right.
That's what staff felt like the direction was
Yes.
to make sure that this happens again, that we have a mechanism in place so that we don't have to go through these.
You got it.
In an instance like this again.
Any hands raised for the email? Then is there a motion to approve, where am I, page 69? Is there a motion to approve temporary, here we are. Resolution number 1598-2023, temporarily waiving sewer fees for customers whose residences have been red tagged by a declared natural disaster.
Is it supposed to be 2-3 or 2-4?
2-4.
It should be 2-4, huh?
No, it says 2-3, then.
Mine says 2-4.
It should
It
be.
really should say 2-4.
We have both, I think.
So the,
Mine says 2024, the new one, on page 71. Oh, no, I'm just curious.
The resolution does say 2-4.
Okay, the resolution says,
The subject matter, which is where I was reading it from. So
how many more can we complete it?
we can keep going. 1598-2024. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Now we are moving on to public hearings. Approved. Cost recovery for the abatement of 289 Berkeley Street, page 75 in our packet.
Good evening, Mayor Barnes and members of the council. It's my recommendation to open the public hearing for the cost recovery for the abatement at 289 Berkeley Street.
Are there any questions? Nope. There. Okay, do you have a question?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay, Councilmember Orr, Councilmember Wilson,
No,
any hands raised, any emails? Rich, we're good. Okay, is there a motion? Wait, what do we do? Close and approve. Is there a motion to approve the findings and order confirming accounts and assessments for the abatement of 289 Berkeley Street?
So moved.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Motion carries 5-0. Cost recovery for the abatement of 483 4th Avenue, page 87 in our packets.
That is me again. Thank you, Mayor Barnes and members of the council. I request to open public hearing for the cost recovery for the abatement that occurred at 601 Gunderson Lane with the cost of $2,037.12.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions?
No.
The other ones that she had.
I have 3 total, so.
Yes, yeah, there's 3.
Thank you.
Questions down your end, Mayor? No? Councilmember Wilson, you good?
no question.
Any hands raised? Any emails? Everything looks good. Okay, then I will ask for a motion to approve. Page right. A motion to approve the findings and order confirming accounts and assessments for the abatement of 601 Gunderson Lane. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a second.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Motion carries 5-0. And the third item, cost recovery for the abatement of 483 4th Avenue, page 87 in our packets.
Again, that's my recommendation to open public hearing for cost recovery abatement at 483 4th Avenue.
Questions? Councilman Wilson or Woodall?
No.
All right, hands raised? Email? Is there a motion to approve the findings and order confirming accounts and assessments for the abatement of 483 4th Avenue?
I so moved.
We have a motion?
Second.
We have a second? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you, Mary. Chief. Thank you, Ms. Committee. Appreciate you. Now we'll move on to clean award of bids. Clean California Gateway Landscape Improvement Project to Yagamo Corporation doing business as J&G Lawn and Garden in the amount of $148,984 and authorize the city manager to execute an agreement. Page 93 in our packet.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. I will do my best to unwind this ball of yarn here. Going back, several years, or actually a couple of decades, the city was awarded a grant for the original Gateway project, which was our wavy sidewalks and the landscape to convert the old highway into a more friendly interface. That design, original design, never included trees in the original design, and subsequently, the city decided that the city wanted trees in the Gateway, and so these trees were planted into the old road base, which is mostly gravel, and resulted in, trees that were mostly unsuccessful, that were not necessarily healthy trees. And so over the years, this has been brought up as a topic of conversation as to how to make the Gateway work. And so, fundamentally, in talking with arborists, and this would have been several years ago, that in order for the trees to be successful, the root ball area would have to be excavated, the gravel would have to be removed, and soil deposited in order for the trees to be successful. So during the pandemic, while the state was flush with cash, kind of out of thin air, a grant became available that the city was unaware of, which is the Clean California program. So over $300 million was made available statewide, and there was a relatively short amount of time to make application for this particular project. The city ended up submitting 2 applications with, maybe we'll get something, maybe we won't. In the end, both applications were accepted. So we have the Eel River Trail moving forward, and we also have this Gateway design. In the original application that was made to Caltrans, to the administering Clean California Authority, what the design called for was a uniform set of trees, and that essentially the plantings in the grant application were failed, and that there would have to be new trees planted and appropriately planted with new root bases and whatnot. So that was kind of the fundamental application that was judged by the state as to what was acceptable and what was not. So we spent a lot of time with the ad hoc committee going over different ideas about what maybe we could additionally implement in the Gateway project, thinking that we had, the potential to do a lot of different things in the Gateway, including at different times looking at artificial turf, but looking at redoing some of the things that were not included in the original grant application. And so I got into that, and the staff, everybody got into kind of different ideas about ways that we could go even further with it. But the bottom line is that when we submitted the application, when it was funded, there were specific deliverables in the grant. And so when we put out our original bid for the project, it came in way over budget, as the council may recall. And so in conversing with the state of California, the Clean California folks, their recommendation was to basically boil it down to the basics. They did some cost estimates. The original grant application they felt could fit into the budget more or less. So when we stripped down to the bare bones of what the grant called for and put it back out, we got J&G landscaping with an appropriate bid amount that was in the budgeted category. So with that, and I know there have been discussions about preserving some of the trees, particularly the cherry trees in the gateway. And that conversation mostly occurred in the discussions with the ad hoc committee. And as far as Karen looked back in the minutes, there was never a specific council direction to specifically save the cherry trees. But what we were trying to do is figure out a way to make that work. And so in our discussions with the state, we said, well, in thinking that it was a reasonable change order, scope change, that some of the trees could be preserved. But in the state's assessment of it, it fundamentally changes what the rubric that they judged the grant on. So, which was a uniform set of trees up and down the gateway, that the current plantings were not healthy and not able to be saved. So in this bid was included the removal of those trees, essentially the destruction of the remaining trees. However, the ad hoc committee said, or recommendation was, let's see if we can have the contractor come up with some estimates to save the trees, knowing that the grant wasn't going to cover that, but that the city might be willing to put up funding for us to have the trees plucked appropriately and then gifted to folks who wanted the trees through some sort of mechanism that we haven't developed yet. So that's the broad picture. That it's mostly the tree saving is a discussion for the next agenda item. But what is on this particular item, section O, item 5, is specifically the J&G landscaping contract that's in compliance with what the state wants to see occur based on the grant application that the city submitted. So, so our recommendation is to go ahead and approve this particular contract and to move forward with this project, because we are limited by time in terms of implementation, and we want to get the contractor ordering the appropriate equipment and making sure that it's in their schedule. And then the next agenda item, we can discuss specifically the tree elements and the authorizations for change orders. Another option that's not written down here, if the project is not acceptable to the council as a group, is that we can return the grant. I'm sure the state would like that because they're facing, potentially a $70+ billion deficit. The city's time investment in this is somewhat substantial between staff time but our actual hard costs in development of this project at this point are about $3,500 for ADA compliance. We had to hire somebody to help us do some of the design of the exercise station related to ADA compliance. So we can still stop the project and return the grant with minimal exposure to the city if that's the route that the full council would like to go.
Thank you, City Manager. So I will open this up for questions. I will say right off, though, that returning the grant, I can't tell you how opposed I would be to that and what I would think of it, but I don't think we should go that route. So, Councilmember Whittle.
No questions.
From everyone, no. Councilmember Ward. Councilmember Wilson.
On this one, no question. That's fine.
Yeah. Any hand raised, emails? Russ, anything? Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to authorize the city manager to execute an agreement in coordination with, in coordination with the city attorney.
So moved.
Have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Yeah.
I'm going to abstain. I'm really conflicted about this, and the ad hoc did a wonderful job. Our staff did, but there's just some things I can't quite get over.
Okay.
So I'm abstaining. Thank you.
Okay. Motion carries 4 with 1 abstention, Councilman Woodall. And our next item is to authorize the city manager to approve change orders up to $31,941 for the Clean California Gateway project, including up to $10,941 for cherry tree removal. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. So the city did receive a nearly $198,000 grant for this particular project from the Clean California state grant program. In addition, staff did outreach to multiple potential funders to augment the budget in light of inflation. We were successful in securing a $5,000 donation from Pacific Gas and Electric towards this particular project. And then the council has, in the current budget, appropriated $38,000 in city beautification funding for projects exactly like this particular project. And so the council approved resolution 1596 that authorized that allocation to be available for this particular project. So when you pull together all of these different funding sources, we have approximately $240,000 towards the project. Again, we've covered in prior meetings and then just with our last agenda item that we have in motion contracts for the exercise station and also now our landscaping portion. And what we need to do is also to set up the funding for the contingencies in case there are complications with the construction. Things generally do come up, especially when you're working in an old highway right-of-way, concrete obstructions that you didn't anticipate, those sorts of things. So we're recommending 10% contingency across the board for those, which is about $21,000. And then also with the discussion from the ad hoc committee about saving the trees, what that leaves in this available budget is approximately $10,941. So based on the estimates from the contractor, who does not have the exact type of equipment at this point in time to do the root ball extraction, and so they would have to manually dig out the trees. Some of them are a little bit larger and would require a piece of heavy equipment. And so those costs are listed in so the estimate that working with the contractor and our own estimate for 13 of these trees to be removed is approximately $7,100. Give or take, that's a very rough estimate. And so, but that would then make those trees available for donation for people to claim a tree. In these figures is not a figure for transplanting a location. We just have very limited city-owned space to be able to transplant the trees. And we also have 114 trees on their way to be planted in the Gateway project, which includes City Hall grounds all the way down to the Gateway sign. So this is an option for the council. It has to come strictly from city funds, so this would be out of the $38,000 in beautification funding. And obviously we want to get the contractor on board with this because it would be one of the first things that we would need to do and to make sure that it doesn't impact our grant timeline. But these are the recommendations. Certainly the council can make Any decision it wants to, we do recommend having at least the 10% contingencies for the project, because there undoubtedly will be some obstacles towards the construction. And then we want to make sure that the council has the opportunity to make that additional assessment within the budget, within our available nearly $241,000 budget, to make that option as to whether you want to have the trees essentially rescued from the destruction and then donated to individuals or organizations that would like to sponsor or take the tree.
Thank you, City Manager. Councilmember Woodall. I'm looking at you, but I was really meaning Councilmember Wilson. Councilmember Wilson. All right.
I'm okay with the 10% for the 31,000, whatever it is for contingency, that, or 20,000 for the contingency. I don't have a problem with that. I'm conflicted about the 13 cherry trees that we're removing and make them available to the public. Part of the things is the whatever the contractor was said that he can't guarantee that they're going to survive. That's why we were taking them out in the first place. And I know this got kind of horsed around last time on what the clarity. I think it's clarity. I was asking last time that you would be back here and explain, which you've done a great job of doing to us. And particularly the part where they may not survive. You know, I'm not one for one to destroy the trees. I'm with our limited fund, I'm having a problem with the $10,000 going towards that expense. And that's just where I'm at. I haven't actually come to a total decision of what I want to do. I wanted to hear from the ad hoc committee, kind of a justification for why we're taking them out and passing them on when we already, it sounds as though we already said they were gonna be destroyed. Is that correct? That they weren't gonna live? I mean, that's why we were getting rid of them to have the. The original idea is uniformity and a beautiful gateway. There was a grant available, and so we have cherry trees, we have floppy trees, I don't know the name of them, but there's, it just isn't uniform, and we had this opportunity to get like a beautiful gateway, so that was the original thing. There was never, I don't think either of us or anybody really thought that they were going to say, well, you have to dig up the trees that are clearly living and thriving. So there was no decision, we didn't address that either way, how you're gonna take the trees out, because we assumed that the living viable cherry trees were gonna be left and we were gonna plant around them. So that was the initial assumption. Well, once the Clean California came back, and you know how grant people are, they're like, blah, 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 so now we don't have a choice but to, well, we have a choice. Give the grant back or dig them up or kill them. So it's hard pressed to want to kill a tree. I mean, I don't even think that's not even in my head. I can't even think about killing a tree just to kill a tree. That being said, I really want the city of Rio Dell to have a statement, a look, something that raises us up. And you come into Rio Dell and you think, oh my goodness, this is such a beautiful town, because we know the outside, the view of Rio Dell is absolutely beautiful. Coming into Rio Dell, I want that to be at that same level of beauty. And so that's, when Amanda and I were talking on the ad hoc committee and with the staff and coming back to council, that's what we were thinking. So there's also a part of me that wants to turn this grant down. So I'm conflicted. I'm conflicted. I'm not conflicted.
It's just that as far as finances goes, I know that Rio Dell doesn't just have money to throw around, so I recognize that. So what decision we come to, but, I don't think we ever thought, and you can speak to that we were gonna have to kill these trees. That was never.
We chose a matching species.
Exactly. We chose to match the trees that were there.
Yeah.
So, I don't know what else to say. So that's the answer there.
Reiterated what I think I said, but I don't, it's hard to get the justification to spend $10,000
Right,
to dig these trees out,
I hear you.
so we give them away. That's just all I have a problem.
Councilmember Woodall, you?
What did you say, how many trees roughly, Kyle, 117?
So the original grant application included 121 trees. However, the original grant application also included the median that was paved over at Route 101. And so the state said, okay, well, if you don't have a median, then you can't plant there. And so we're down to 114.
Okay. How many, I think, I was trying to count them, but we were driving too fast. There must be maybe between 40 trees down there now.
But we're talking, but just the cherry trees, right?
No, I'm,
So,
yeah, and you look how big the, cherry trees get. Boy, they're gonna be growing into each other. That's neither here nor there, but I have to put 114 up.
Yeah.
But we got them, so that's fine. So when we're having the 13 trees removed, so all the other trees will be cut down?
Yeah.
the floppies.
The floppers, yeah.
The floppy ones.
Oh, the
Floppers are, it's bad, it's
Wait,
bad.
are you talking about the floppy ones, or are you also talking about the nice ones in the center that grow straight up?
So it would be all trees.
Oh,
and
all
get-
trees, yeah. When she said floppy trees, or floppy trees.
Yeah. No, I just did that, you're right.
Oh, so I thought, okay, and we're the people of Rio Dell in about 20 years will have a beautiful entrance. We will not be here to see it. The little trees out that they gave us, the cherry trees down here, they're about 3 years old now. So, but, okay, that answered my questions.
Ron?
Just a quick one. So this extra cherry tree option does not exist unless we want them. Hopefully, the extra 10,000, well, the 7,103.
Yeah, it has to come from city funding.
Oh,
So
but the original, the grant takes care of destruction of the trees, just not recovery of the trees.
correct.
Okay. And is the contractor willing to give his best guess as to which ones are viable and not viable if they pull them? So we
I'm
don't
sure
pick
he's-
every tree?
So, yeah, I'm sure he would be willing to give a guess,
Right.
but
I
he's
realize
not
that.
willing to give any kind of guarantee.
Yeah, no, I understand that. It said that some of them had to be dug out by hand and excavator because they're too large at this point. And I have a feeling those are the ones that would not survive.
So 13 trees.
Yeah, so there's approximately 13, they would all have to be hand dug, and there's maybe about 5 of them where he would need, where they couldn't just, physically handle the trees. They would need a little bit of equipment time to move them around. So that is, and I forget, but it's relative to that portion of it, the equipment is a relatively small portion.
And then I also have a hard time believing that anybody that accepted these trees would be able to put them in a timely manner coming up this time of year either. So that kind of inhibits their growth wherever they go. So, and along with the other council members spending that much right now when we don't have to spend. Thank you.
And my turn call.
Yeah, oh, no,
Oh, my turn call.
Yeah.
So my grandparents used to tell me sometimes perfect is the enemy of good. Sometimes it is. And that was what I kept thinking about. Today, I do not wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm gonna kill some trees today. It's really gonna improve my mood. Like that is like ever, no, at all. I can't reiterate that enough. But I am also feeling protective of the city budget and especially with a lot of these things we talked about in our mid-year budget update that are in flux right now. And I do think that there are probably other things we could put that kind of money towards that would serve the community and city staff and everybody better. So I'm conflicted and I want to hear what everybody says, but I will be the first to go ahead and say, I kind of think that we should just nix the trees. Ouch. I'm sorry. I'm not a tree killer. I don't like it. I am a tree killer. I will just go ahead and say, I think that the best route for the whole community and for everybody, because it's not just about what I want personally and what I feel should happen personally, it's what I think is best for everybody. And I think what's best for everybody is to just plant new trees and not try to transplant the old ones.
Thank you. Councilman Will.
Okay. It'd be nice if we could, if they can, take them out. And cherry trees are hard to transplant because the season before you're supposed to cut around the root ball. And, but if we could we put 2 over in our transplant for us, the city, like over next to the police department? Somebody will get it. You should more, please. Another police department. And a couple in the Triangle Park. And just to save some, if possible. I know.
And look,
I don't know, because I know that city property is going to have new trees planted on city property too, so I don't know how much.
But wait,
Of the 114 trees, some of them are gonna be.
you're taking out the cherry trees, the blooming trees right in front? I thought it was just a gateway.
no, we're adding 2 of those.
We're adding on City Hall grounds, there's not trees. There is one that appears to have
It's
passed away.
Yeah.
So there might be that one that gets taken out, but that, but the other ones were not planned to be.
Thought we were gonna have to do that all.
But a lot of the trees on the City Hall grounds are kind of at their apex of the, life. And so I think, getting these trees planted and then, as those trees, may need to be, removed at some point in the future just because of wind hazard or something like that. And so by then, the trees will have grown up a little bit. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to know. Thank you.
And I have, one question, Kyle, do you know the age of the trees that they would be planting?
So they're relatively small. They're
15 gallons.
They're the 15-gallon variety.
That is really small.
So I think that was originally the size of, there were 3 or 4 planted,
Here by
one. And so that would be the size.
So that these trees out in front of our parking lot are part of the things that destroy.
No.
Another question is, can people come and get these, or does that create a liability thing? Say somebody wants it, you're gonna get rid of some trees, can they come over and go through whatever process they have to go through the city? So I got my own shovel,
If somebody really wants one of the trees and is willing to do it on their
I know a
own,
guy across the street over here. I'm taking them all.
they would need to get an encroachment permit and not interfere with the contractor's work. So we can entertain that, but they'd have to get an encroachment permit and the appropriate traffic controls and those types of things. So.
When it's all said and done, I think at least I would rather see this money go to beautifying the buildings that go along with any beautiful boulevard.
Okay, so, city manager. I'm gonna have to ask for a motion, but it's gonna have to be an amended motion, because I have to read what's here. So, if if we want to make the motion and not include the $10,941 for the cherry tree, how do we make, did you just stop reading, or should you say an amended motion?
Under your recommended, actions on page 94, the second option, which would be to approve a contingency without cherry tree removals for a total of $21,000.
So whoever makes the motion takes the subject line or the second choice and make that motion, please.
I will do my best. I will take one here. Sorry, guys. Where's the motion number?
Second,
All right. I move to authorize the city manager to approve the contingency without the cherry tree removal for a total of $21,000.
Without.
Is there a
Without
second?
cherry tree removal.
Oh, okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second?
I'm abstaining, okay.
Motion carries 4 with 1 abstention.
Should we have a?
I know, it's like, come on, the fine.
I'm sorry, look, I don't want to do, I know, it's gonna be in the paper tomorrow. Evil tree killer.
It is, and you can't even blame them.
I know, it's a terrible picture, I mean, as they always do.
We can age it, chip it, and have a big snack. Cherry tree.
I'll get with you, Robert. I got it.
All right. Oh, that was cool. Okay, so now we're moving on to ordinances and special resolutions. 98. The second reading and adoption of ordinance number 403-2024, amending the city zoning regulations to 1, define and allow for residential care homes with 6 or fewer persons by right in all residential zones. 2, update the definition of family to mean 1 or more persons living together in a dwelling unit. And 3, provide for farm employee housing consistent with state law in zones that allow agriculture as a permitted use pursuant to the State Employee Housing Act. Page 98 in our package. Before I turn this over, I actually have to go back. I did not ask for public comment on that last,
Oh, okay.
on the tree.
Sure.
Do you have anything?
100 eyes on me. Yeah, I have no problem. Well, you can do it.
Okay, were there any hands raised? Were there any emails? Okay, thank you. Sorry about that, but
You're right.
that was just an oversight on my part. So now we are on to the second reading. City manager.
Mayor Garnes, members of the council, thank you, Kevin Caldwell, Community Development Director. This item was first brought to your attention at the meeting of February 6th. These are text amendments that are identified in our state-approved housing element. And what it will do, it'll actually bring us in more compliance with state housing laws. The amendments are really minor in nature. It would allow for residential care homes if there's 6 or fewer residents in all residential zones by right, meaning you don't have to go through a use permit. Any more than 6 residents in 1 unit would require a use permit process, which of course invokes public noticing and a public hearing. The second minor text amendment is the definition of family, and that would incorporate what the definition is in state law. And then the third text amendment would have to do with employee housing on land to allow agricultural uses. As discussed at a meeting of February 6th, these are minor amendments in nature. And we would recommend, if your council doesn't have any questions of staff, to approve ordinance number 403-2024, which is included as attachment 1 in your packet. And again, with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Councilmember Moore?
No question.
Councilmember Wilson?
No questions.
Councilmember Wilson? Mayor Pro Tem? Rich? Any hands raised? Any emails? Then I will ask for a motion to approve the adoption of ordinance number 403-2024. So moved. We have a motion?
A second.
We have a motion and a second? Motion carries 5-0. Just one at the same time. Final item, introduction and first reading of ordinance number 404-2024, amending the Rio Dell Municipal Code, establishing a cannabis cultivation tax guarantee. Page 107 in our packets.
Again, Mayor Garnes, I apologize. Again, Mayor Garnes, members of the council, this again, as Mayor Garnes indicated, starts on page 107 of your packet. This is an amendment to the cannabis tax regulations, and this was brought about due to a couple of recent incidents regarding really cultivation on the Dinsmore Plateau. Back in 2022, Dinsmore Plateau Farms basically was not able to pay their cultivation taxes for that year. And unfortunately, it resulted in quite a significant loss to the city. It was approximately $89,500 in the end. One of the reasons the city established commercial cannabis cultivation regulations was based on Measure X, which was approved by the voters in 2017. Actually, approximately 81% of the voters approved the cannabis tax in 2017, and that's why the city moved forward with cannabis cultivation regulations. As the council's aware, we currently charge $2 a square foot. There is wiggle room in the tax regulations that allow for the city to adjust that per square foot cannabis tax based on issues like mold or fungus, total crop failure, that type of thing. What brought this to the attention this year is that the farmer who took over the Dinsmore Plateau Farms, New Earth Farms, apparently is not coming back to the city of Rio Dell, and they owe approximately $42,000 in cannabis taxes. And what we're doing is not unusual. Many jurisdictions that allow commercial cannabis cultivation activities require some form of surety bond to ensure that we get our taxes one way or another. And what this ordinance does, it would allow the city, if this ordinance is adopted, to either require a surety bond, a deposit in escrow, or a letter of credit from a bank or other financial institution, basically guaranteeing the payment of these cannabis taxes. We believe it's appropriate at this time, given the nature. Truly what we're concerned about is what's called the grow and go, kind of like the dine and dash. We want to make sure that these farmers that come to Rio Dell actually pay their taxes. And we're lucky. We actually have some really good farmers that regularly pay their taxes. And unfortunately, these two situations brought to light the need to adopt regulations to ensure that the city gets the taxes that the residents of the city of Rio Dell pass in Measure X, making sure we get that $2 per square foot, or at least some form of taxes based on the situation that occurs at that time. Again, the ordinance actually starts on page 110 of your packet, and if you look at it, it's pretty simple. Again, there's basically three methods of payment or insurance. One is, again, the surety bond, the deposit in escrow, or the letter of credit. It's a fairly short ordinance, basically 3 pages. And then, of course, if adopted, we would have to amend the sequential order of the subsections of Chapter 5. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions that your council may have. If not, we recommend that the item be scheduled for your meeting of March 5th for the second reading approval and ultimately adoption of the ordinance.
Thank you, Community Director Caldwell. Councilman Rohr?
No questions.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Not really a ton of questions. Just for a little bit of background, the growers on the Dinsmore Plateau at the very beginning advocated the $2 a square foot guarantee, correct? They really wanted that locked in, right? Yes, they did, okay. We also have a thing set up where if they're starting to experience mold, they can let the city know, we can go look and verify, oh yeah, it's mold, right? But they don't do that. Did that happen this time, the new guy?
Kevin, can you speak to that?
We did not get any indication at all that he experienced crop loss until we sent him a reminder that the taxes were due.
Right.
At that time, he indicated that there were some issues associated with mold and fungus. One of the things we made clear in the 2024 cannabis declaration is that if they do have an issue, they need to notify us immediately, and they need to document that issue should they seek tax relief.
10-4, thank you, that's it for me.
No, I talked to Travis this afternoon and he answered my questions.
Thank you, Councilmember Wilson.
All I have basically, I think the comment is that it's along the lines of Councilmember Carter's question is whoever took this over, took it over from the previous people that control it, with the assumption on, I would say on the side of the city is that they know what they're doing. And they understood clearly, I can't believe that Mr. Caldwell didn't make it clear to them that they needed to communicate to him that they were having a problem. And so, in this case, it's, what did you call it? Dine and dash?
Yeah, dine.
I think we need to have something here that if you're gonna get into this business, it's not a new business, it's a well-established business in the county, that there's some guarantee for the city. So they don't want to do it, I guess somebody else that does want to do it, show up and do it. So yeah, let's, I'll make a motion that we pass it.
Madam Mayor, if I may for just a second, I do want to make sure the council is aware that New Earth Farms, before they were allowed to grow, to cultivate, we told them they were required to pay the outstanding tax amount that was agreed upon for Dinsmore Plateau Farms, which was almost $72,000. And they did pay that prior to the 2023 growing season. And that'll be the case in 2024 should somebody want to cultivate up on that same site. They will be responsible for the $42,000 unless some sort of agreement through documentation is made to reduce that tax liability.
Thank you. Are there any public comments? Any hands raised? Any emails? No? Okay. Then I will ask for a motion to accept the first reading and continue this to the next meeting of March 5th for approval and adoption.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Motion carries 5-0. Council reports, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I have a Redwood Region Economic Development Commission meeting on Monday, February 26th. Should be great fun. I don't know what's on the agenda yet, but it's always a good time up there. We are doing disaster response training on March 2nd. That is a Saturday. I don't know if there's any spaces left, so we'll leave that part to Mayor Garnes, but I'll be there. We have a nuisance committee meeting tomorrow at 3 p.m. here in City Hall. And lastly, the Humboldt Humane is a low-cost spay neuter shelter that is opened in Fernbridge. I know they were open, then they weren't open, but now they are back open. So just anybody who's listening or wants to spread the word that the Eel River Valley now does finally have its own low-cost spay neuter clinic. We don't have to drive all the way to Myrtletown. So yay for us. Go ahead and give them a call. They're taking cats and dogs. Thank you. That's it.
We're in Fernbridge.
It's right next to what used to be the Angelina Inn.
Oh, okay.
Right there. Yep.
Can I ask you, is it just spay neuter or do they?
It is not a standard veterinary practice. You are still stuck with what we got for that. But for low cost spay neuter, and I think like first rounds of shots and things.
Yeah,
they'll do that. Yep, yep. And it's the same people who started Humboldt spay neuter. They just have moved down here. Yep.
Councilmember Rohr?
Went to an HCOG meeting on Thursday, basically approved the dispersal of transit funds, to the localities, but the big thing out of that was the hard closure of the bridge in Ferndale for 40 hours. So
And we're
I
gonna
think
see.
there's signage on it.
Yeah, yeah, because people are gonna be taking Blue Slide Road, so slow down,
Please.
guys.
Councilmember Wilson?
I have a council meeting, or RCA meeting this Thursday, and so I won't be able to attend that insurance thing, which hopefully people will be able to attend that insurance, Zoom meeting about whether or not you're gonna have homeowners insurance. That's all I have.
And I went to HTA Humboldt Transit Authority last Friday and got a tour of the entire facility, and it explained how the whole thing worked and how we're connected. I didn't know, for example, you could get from Crescent City to Calistoga via the railroad transit system. You just go, you get down to Ukiah, and you transfer over to the Mendocino one, and on you go. And that there is no bus route from here that will get you to Sacramento. It all stops before that, and then you're just stranded. So it was actually very, very interesting. And the one thing that everyone in Rio Dell needs to know is that starting Monday, this past Monday, the 19th, yesterday, the transit is now starting at 7, an hour earlier, so maybe 6. But the last bus coming through Rio Dell going north will be at 8, which is 2 hours later than it had been, or an hour and a half-ish. So,
That's great.
yeah, so that's interesting and a good development. And I think that's all for me. Oh my God,
Julie's turn.
time is dead.
I just wanted to thank Mary for all those updates on her, because that was like a lot of work, and I sure appreciate it.
I apologize for the.
I'm sure. I'm leaving.
You have to thank you so much, we forgot to.
All right, is there a motion to?
So move to adjourn.
Turn the meeting into
Oh, I don't have to vote on that.
Be adjourned until March 5th, 2024 at 6 p.m.